Hi guys, Geechu64 here, and today we're going to be talking about the MCU Phase 4. Sorry for a little bit of delay in videos. I'm traveling, so I'm not on my set today, but I do want to get a couple videos out to you. I'm going to be checking out Once Upon a Time in Hollywood today. Hopefully get a review for that up this weekend. But right now we want to talk about MCU. Let's talk about the MCU. Obviously, tons of news came out of San Diego Comic-Con, and not the least of which was the Phase 4 of the MCU. So I'm going to take a look at this individually, let you know my thoughts, and give some information that I already have gathered in regards to these projects. So now I will preface all of this with the fact that I've already said that post Endgame, my interest in the MCU is pretty minimal. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I've enjoyed what MCU's put together. Almost all of their movies are amazing. And I just love MCU. I think they've done a great job. But Endgame pretty much capped it off for me. I mean, with, again, this will be some spoilers for Endgame if you have not seen it for whatever reason. Iron Man and Cap are no longer in the MCU. And I think they're the kind of cornerstones for the MCU. Iron Man in particular. And then Captain America is my favorite character in the MCU. So with them gone, it's kind of... it's just my interest is not there. And I based on what we've seen timeline-wise, the stuff I've seen overall has not very been exciting to me. But like I said, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So first up, we have Black Widow. So the thing with Black Widow is I have been wanting a Black Widow movie basically since Avengers. That scene in Avengers where Black Widow is seemingly captured by some guy, and she gets a call and she's like, I'm interrogating this guy while she's strapped to a chair. Black Widow had some of the best scenes in the Avengers, and Scarlett Johansson's been great as Black Widow. For those who don't know, Emily Blunt was originally supposed to be Black Widow, but we ended up with Scarlett Johansson, which has been great so far, but I do still want to see Emily Blunt in an MCU film. But I ever since the Avengers, I've wanted to see a Black Widow movie. I don't know why it took so long to get a Black Widow movie together. Black Widow should have happened before Captain Marvel. It should have. Obviously, based on Endgame, Black Widow will probably be a prequel. At least that's what I'm assuming. I haven't read anything in particular that says one way or the other. But I don't know. Hey, we'll see. Next up is the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So at the end of Endgame, Cap gave the Falcon, Sam Wilson, the shield. So I guess we're going to get the version of Falcon as Captain America. Now in the comics, the Falcon and Winter Soldier have both been Captain America. Winter Soldier was first to be Captain America after Captain America was killed in the Civil War storyline in the comics. And his suit was pretty interesting. And then you also had the Falcon as Captain America more recently in the MCU as well. Again, to me, I feel like it would be more interesting to see Bucky as Captain America. But I could see the case for both sides. Either way, it just, to me, Captain America is Steve Rogers, and anything the Falcon or Winter Soldier decides to do will just be a imitation of what Steve Rogers did as Captain America, and they can't replace that character. So I think, to me, the Winter Soldier actually has some strength and abilities that coincide with being Captain America, whereas the Falcon is a dude in a wingsuit, which is cool, and he has his own powers and stuff in his own right, whereas Winter Soldier is Cap made. Makes more sense to me. But either way, I'm interested to see what they do. I hope they maintain like the political thriller aspects, the old school action aspects, kind of like what Winter Soldier did, the movie Winter Soldier. But I don't know. We'll see what it is. This is obviously not a movie. This is one of the Disney streaming service miniseries. So I don't know. I'm really interested in see what they do with these miniseries. But next up, we have the Eternals. Honestly, I'm not very familiar with the Eternals. I'm a big comic fan, but I never got anything with the Eternals. I never really cared about them. I don't care about them now. The only thing I really know is I think Angelina Jolie's in the movie. Based on the amount of news that's come out about the Eternals, it does seem like a kind of a slap-together movie. Maybe trying to do a Guardians, hoping that it'll catch on like what the Guardians of the Galaxy did and just be a surprise hit. I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I just people don't know them. I'm definitely not a normie. I'm a big comic book fan, and even I don't care about them and don't know much about them. So I don't know. I don't foresee Eternals being a very popular movie. I guess I'm going to call that now. Honestly, the Eternals should have been the Inhumans. The Inhumans was announced as a movie, I think, in Phase 3, for Phase 3, and for whatever reason, it ended up getting segued into being that really terrible TV show. The Inhumans TV show was awful. I couldn't even finish it. Now, the Inhumans have a way cooler story than I think the Eternals do. Even though, to be honest, as I said, I'm not very familiar with the Eternals. The Inhumans are more well known than the Eternals are, and I wish that they just went ahead and scrubbed that whole series from the MCU, just pretend like that didn't exist, and then give us a proper Inhuman storyline on the moon. That should have been what the Eternals was, but I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. We'll see what they do with it. Next up is ShangChi, Legend of the Ten Rings. For those who don't know, the Ten Rings alludes to the Mandarin, who was butchered in Iron Man 3 as a character. One of the worst things about Iron Man 3 was definitely the Mandarin being ruined. And so I don't know what they're going to do with Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. I don't really care to see Mandarin as a character fixed, because Mandarin is an arch enemy to Iron Man. Iron Man's not around anymore. So I guess they're just trying to go with Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is also not a character that many people know about. Again, I'm a big into comics. I know who Shang-Chi is. He is not a very popular character. Iron Fist would have been a better way to go. I know they had the Netflix series, and that was really disappointing, but Iron Fist as a character is more interesting than Shang-Chi, or they could have actually had Iron Fist and Luke Cage dealing with it or something. You know, I just feel like there are better characters and more interesting characters, top tier characters that they have introduced, like in the Netflix series, for instance, that they haven't got their big screen debut that they should have had. So no, I'm not very interested in Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is, the best way to describe him is he's just like any other Mortal Kombat character, or, I mean, he's not an interesting character to me at all. And again, I feel like they missed out on a real big opportunity and actually having Iron Man face off against the Mandarin, where it's science against magic. That was just a big missed opportunity in the MCU. To have that, you could have had Fin Fang Foom. For those who don't know, Fin Fang Foom is actually a giant, like, kaiju magical monster. It would have been cool to have Iron Man have to deal with. It was just a big missed opportunity for a really cool story for Iron Man and Tony Stark to deal with that we don't get. Instead, we get Shang-Chi, a character we don't care about. I mean, I don't know too many people who do. But anyway, so yeah, not very interested in that either. Next up is WandaVision, which is a funny title to me. This is another Disney streaming service miniseries. Obviously, this has, Wanda and Vision in it, as evident by the title. Vision did not come back at the end of Endgame. At least I don't remember him coming back. The stone was crushed, so I don't think he came back. But Scarlet Witch did. And so in the comics, Scarlet Witch had a really cool series around her powers where she kind of went crazy and she took out like 3 or 4 of the Avengers. She ended up killing them with her powers, kind of inadvertently, but also because she kind of went crazy. She has reality bending powers, and she created the House of M, which was a cool alternate universe that overtook the current universe and basically had 90+% of the population become mutants, and that was a really cool storyline. So I mean, I don't think that's what they're gonna do, because mutants still haven't been introduced yet in the MCU. But hey, we'll see what they do with it. I do think Wanda and Vision are cool characters that have not been fleshed out enough in the movies. I just don't think they have enough time to really flesh out their characters. I like where they were in Infinity War and how that were all worked out, although they really nerfed Vision in Infinity War. So that was kind of frustrating, but I don't know. We'll see what they do with it, but I don't know. What I do understand is that actually leads directly into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is a it's kind of a dumb title. I would bet money that they're going to change it, but if they don't, I'd be surprised. This is one of the few movies on this list that I'm actually pretty excited about. This is probably the one I'm the most excited about. I'm just going to go ahead and say that because Doctor Strange was a cool origin story. I think that he was introduced later in the MCU cycle of movies, and the way they handle his origin was really good. I think Doctor Strange is an interesting character, and I've been waiting for a Doctor Strange second movie. And that's cool that they're apparently dealing with the multiverse, which is a really cool aspect, and we'll get to see more of that. But more importantly, they say it's going to be kind of like a horror-esque or have horror aspects to the movie, which is also cool because we've not seen horror aspects in a movie. This kind of leads me to Blade, which was announced. You can see it on the end. Blade was announced, but there's no thing for it yet. I think that if they do introduce Blade in Doctor Strange, that would make a lot of sense to me. If they're trying to build up some horror aspects in Doctor Strange, Blade would be a great way to introduce him into the MCU by introducing him in Doctor Strange, based on Marvel's track record of introducing characters there in their own movies earlier than that. I would probably call that, but overall, this is the one I'm most interested in, seeing what they do with it. Then there's Loki. This is as suspected. I mean, as soon as I saw the movie, as soon as I saw Endgame, I was like, okay, this is probably where the Loki series goes. And everybody else thought the same thing. So, Loki takes off with the Tesseract, and he just takes off with it. He gets away with it, and that's not what happened in the mainstream MCU. So that had to create some multiverse or some alternate timeline or whatever. The one thing Endgame did terribly was try and explain time travel, and they explain it by not explaining it, and they act like that's a smart way to go, and that's a stupid way to go. They even make fun of other time travel stories in Endgame, which I found really stupid considering how dumb their explanation of time travel is. But it is what it is. I'm interested to see what they do with Loki taking off on the Tesseract and see where he is, just because Tom Hiddleston is awesome as Loki, and that's such a great character. He's one of the best characters in the MCU, and I definitely think he could probably carry a movie by himself, but they'll probably give him some sidekick or something. I don't know if he'd carry it by himself, and that he does need somebody to play off of. So we'll see what they do with it. Next thing is the What If. So from my understanding, the What If on the Disney streaming service is going to be animated, but going to have the voice actors from the MCU in it, which will be cool. I'm not sure, and I may have just missed this, I'm not sure if it's an actual movie they're putting out on Disney Plus or if it's like a mini series with a couple episodes. I don't really know. It'd be cool if they did a couple episodes. The What If is a very popular comic. I have quite a few of them. I know they've probably done over 100 issues. Actually, I'm positive they've done over 100 issues because I have a lot of them. And they're really cool. It just takes stories that happened in the regular MCU and spins them off and says, hey, what would happen if, this happened? What would happen if Bucky survived in Captain America, the First Avenger? That'd be interesting. I think the MCU has enough backlog story at this point that they actually could build what ifs just off of their own universe, which I'm pretty sure is what this is going to be. And that'll be really cool. I'm interested to see what they do with it. Next up is Hawkeye. Again, another miniseries on Disney Plus. I like Jeremy Renner. I think Hawkeye is an okay character. He's not a top tier character. I don't think he's garbage like a lot of people kind of treat him. I don't think he has reached anywhere near his full potential as a character in the MCU based on what he was in the comics. But apparently Hawkeye is going to be training Kate Bishop, who is also Hawkeye in the comics. So right now in the comics you have two different Hawkeyes, and they're both called Hawkeye. It's really dumb. I don't care to see Jeremy Renner train Kate Bishop. That's not an interesting story to me. Just Hawkeye in general. The only way to make a Hawkeye movie work would be to delve more into the whole Ronin aspect that we saw in Endgame. I think that's the only way you'd really get any kind of meat out of a story with Hawkeye, is to talk about him as Ronin and kind of what took place between the snap losing his family and becoming Ronin. That to me is an interesting story. From what I've read, that's not the way they're going to go, but that makes way more sense to me. Next up is Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, it sounds and the title looks like it's something off of Brutal Legend. For those who don't know, Brutal Legend was a video game with Jack Black. So, what I've read about Thor: Love and Thunder, Jane Foster's back. Natalie Portman's back as Jane Foster, and in the comics, she became Thor. She was Lady Thor, and basically in the comics, it was revealed she had cancer, and when she tapped into Thor, it reversed her radiation or chemo treatments. And I don't know. I don't want to see Lady Thor. I read that comic. I got like the first 6 to 10 issues, I think, and I didn't like it. I don't like the idea of Thor being a mantle that's passed on, because Thor is an actual guy. Now, previously in Thor's kind of mythology, there was a guy named Donald Blake, and when he grabbed the hammer, he became Thor, but that was way different, and they actually retconned that at a certain point. Thor is an actual person. It's not a title or whatever that can be passed along. It's not like Captain America or like Iron Man. Thor is his name. His name is Thor. You can't just become Thor. So no, I'm not interested in seeing Natalie Portman as Lady Thor. I think that's a dumb idea. And even if they did do it, I'm assuming they would have to have somebody else come in to play Lady Thor, because Natalie Portman's like 5 foot, nothing, and weighs 110 pounds. So, yeah, I mean, even if you're magically imbued with power, it'd be hard for me to see you punch anybody or do anything and, actually provide any kind of damage output. You're not like Lady Sif. That's for sure. I could be proven wrong. Gal Gadot proved me wrong. I didn't think that she was fit enough or big enough to play Wonder Woman, but Gal Gadot is a lot bigger than Natalie Portman is. So, yeah, I don't think I'd buy Natalie Portman. I don't like that idea. I don't like Thor being a mantle that's pushed along. I wanted to see Thor with Guardians of the Galaxy, as Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that'd be way interesting. I honestly think, looking at this entire thing, that Thor: Love and Thunder may be the worst movie out of all of them, because of just what I've read. I just don't like Lady Thor. I think that's a dumb idea, but whatever. And as announced, was Blade. Mahershala Ali is playing Blade, which is a great casting choice. He played Cottonmouth and Luke Cage. Luke Cage, especially those first 6-7 episodes with Cottonmouth in it, were awesome. They were amazing. That was like top tier Netflix right there. And whenever he left the show, the second half of the season, immediately took a dive. So the dude is a great actor, one of the best actors today, and I can't wait to see what he does with Blade, although the idea of a PG-13 Blade does make me kind of not as interested, but hey, we'll see. They also talked about Fantastic Four. It was confirmed a Fantastic Four movie is coming from Marvel. Not a big shocker. Maybe we can finally get a good Fantastic Four movie. This is technically the 5th Fantastic Four movie in theaters. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Also, X-Men was talked about. There's a few other projects that were talked about, but not part of Phase 4. Overall, Phase 4 seems to be relying heavily on their Disney streaming miniseries to generate the interest in Phase 4, because if you look at it just from a movie perspective, there's not much here to get you excited. The only thing I see here is Black Widow, which, again, it will probably be a prequel, so it's not as interesting. So, to me, the number one thing here is definitely Doctor Strange. So, overall, I think just Phase 4 MCU is kind of a disappointment. I was hoping for more than what we got, and this is what we got, and I was wary of the direction MCU was going to go, and man, overall, just kind of a disappointment. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe other people are excited. I don't know. I want to thank you guys for sticking around on this video. Thank you, subscribers. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm Geechu64, and I'll always tell you the truth.